Hello and welcome to the Strategic Bookkeeper podcast. In today's episode, I would like to dive into exactly how I recruit team. We'll focus on my bookkeeping practice. However, it's very much the same regardless of what I'm doing. So I thought this would be a good one off the back of recent episodes that I have done around SOPs and also mastering your finances, which means we've been focusing a bit on the back end of your bookkeeping practice, whereas I do tend to focus a lot of my energy in my podcast episodes on brand marketing and selling. It's more like throwing paint at a canvas, whereas the back end's quite black and white and linear, doesn't change as much. It's even easier to coach bookkeepers around that, very process driven, whereas the front end, brand marketing and selling, it's a bit of a windy road with lots of twists and turns. So let's dive into exactly what I do to recruit, how I do it all, so that you can recreate what I do, or you can join us inside the program where it's all done for you and with you. I'll see you in the episode. I'm Jeannie Savage, the Strategic Bookkeeper. I've been in practice for 14 years, but more importantly, 5 years in, I achieved a lifestyle practice. This means I scaled my business, could take my hands off the wheel, and draw a nice six-figure income while being time rich. And that's what I call my dream on my terms. I was recently awarded Women in Finance Innovator of the Year, recognizing my book, my podcast, my program, and my impact globally. The Strategic Bookkeeper is my life's work, and the opportunity to help bookkeepers globally achieve the income and lifestyle that sets them free absolutely fills my cup. Please do connect with me on socials at the Strategic Bookkeepers Way private Facebook group, or shoot me an email, hello@thestrategicbookkeeper.global. Okay, so I might set the scene by referring to my first book, which is The Strategic Bookkeeper, and you've got the chapters in there, systems and team. So we're talking about team, but those chapters go very much hand in hand, and a lot of what I cover off in here you can read about in those chapters, so I recommend that you use those. You've also got the bookkeeping practice blueprint that we drop into the show notes every episode, so that's a visual representation of all the things, and you'll find team right at the start. So on the bookkeeping practice blueprint that I'm looking at right now, so when I record my episodes, generally I look at my models and I use my notes. And I think of these a lot like training sessions. I want you to go away, be able to use what I teach you in the episode to apply it, whether it's by myself or whether I'm interviewing a guest. So up in foundation on the left-hand side, you've got plan, and then as a sub kind of thing off plan, you've got team. I always say, I teach every entrepreneur, including bookkeepers, that you need to have a great game plan, and you can listen to, I think it's episode 74 for Plan for Success, a really basic planning exercise. But you need to have a good game plan, and then you need the players on the team to win the game. So even if you are a solopreneur, and actually one of the big mistakes that I see bookkeepers make, that I've made a lot of mistakes. I've made so many of the mistakes, but this is one that I didn't make. And maybe it was my background that helped me understand that I really needed to do this. Maybe it's because I'm a really great delegator and I'm probably a fairly natural leader, although I definitely was a B leader in my own bookkeeping practice for a while before I stepped up to an A leader. We'll try and cover a bit more of that, but it is inside the book. So you've got your game plan and then the winning team. And as I said, mistake a lot of bookkeepers make is they think that they should just keep going on and on all by themselves. And sometimes a money saving exercise. Like I remember talking to a girlfriend that was in business and she said, Jeannie, why do you hire a team to do the work when you could do it yourself and make more money? So I guess a couple of reasons. Number one, you can't scale your business all by yourself. I mean, the risk alone. And number two, well, money is not usually the most important thing to all of us. It's one of the things that we want and need. But oftentimes, especially with women like myself, women have different drivers to men. Time is really, really important. And I call that time wealth. The other thing is, if you think of yourself like a coach, so have you seen the Apple TV series Ted Lasso? A lot of people have. I've watched it twice. It's amazing. So if you think of yourself like a football coach or any kind of sporting coach, you may not be able to play the game, but your job is to come up with an amazing game plan and then to always be thinking about your players. So who can you put in the right positions to win the game? And recently I did an episode on finances and SOPs where I dived into this subject, and we talked about how to recruit and manage an all-rounder in your bookkeeping practice so that somebody could take off you some of the general admin, practice admin, marketing admin, and also the client work. Now, just briefly before we move on, you have got that episode 74 to listen to for planning, but your plan's got to be an outline of your brand. So it's really your unique selling proposition, your competitive advantage, how you are going to win work over your competitors. It's going to include making sure you understand the financial management, which I did an episode on recently. It's also featured in my new book. Your plan's going to include how are you going to go to market in terms of your products and pricing, so that I hope you do focus on winning like less clients but more high value clients. And also that you've got your minimum job charges and your minimum, which is for one-off jobs and ongoing jobs. Okay. So all of that, episode 74, 75, 6, and 7, covers that off. The moral of this little story is that you must have just a basic napkin numbers game plan in place, and that's going to help you to understand, okay, well, who do I need? For example, well, if I need a website, I'm going to need somebody that develops that, because team is not all about the people that you recruit into your practice on wages or more kind of working for you. It's also about the other stakeholders that you bring in to do the things that's going to help you to win the game. Okay, if we think of that back to the game analogy. Hey, I just wanted to take 1 minute to tell you about our signature transformation program, in my own words, from the heart. So this is a program where I'm really passionate about helping you to build a thriving practice, delight your clients, and live your dream on your terms by leveling up to become a strategic bookkeeper. My tribe inside the program tells me that there is nothing like my signature program on the planet. 100% of them describe it as mind-blowing, and I'm so pleased to tell you that many tribe members get 5- and 6-figure results within the first 12 months. And it does come with a full money-back guarantee, which is so easy because tribe members say that they tend to make the whole year's fee back within the first month. But it does also come with a weekly payment plan because I wanted to make it accessible to everyone. Now, while there is tons of information on our website and previous podcasts, I also want to let you know that our customer success manager, Demi, would love to chat to you and answer any questions that you've got, so you can book a call with Demi no matter where in the world you are. So feel free to visit our website or drop us an email, hello@thestrategicbookkeeper.global, back to the podcast. So we've touched on that a little bit because I really did want to set the scene before moving forward. Now let's dive into exactly what I do and my right hand Joe McMahon does to recruit team inside of our bookkeeping practice. And it is exactly what everybody inside my transformation program does. And they either do it themselves because we have the most amazing collateral, or they tend to use TeamUp. And if you'd like an introduction to TeamUp to get our special rates and so on, please do just email us, hello@thestrategicbookkeeper.global. Why would you use TeamUp? Well, the reason we find people use TeamUp is because they don't have any time. So you're absolutely full up. Like I used, even though I'm an exceptional recruiter and my team is amazing at it as well because we have the great IP, I paid a recruiter a while ago when I was recruiting in South Africa because I wanted to buy time. We can kind of solve problems sometimes with some money that will save us time, or we can use our own time. Also, if you're not in my transformation program and you don't have this process and you don't want to build it out, it could be another good reason to do it. Inside my transformation program, which is what I'll walk through now, right? I'll walk through what we do, because what I do is what I put inside the program. And that's what the members of my program are using, especially when they start early. Okay, so in one of those recent episodes, I talked about starting early and also doing what I call always recruiting. So when you're at a point in your practice, even if you're 5-10 years in, if you're at a point where you don't need team, then you can repair the roof while the sun is shining, meaning you can start recruiting now using exactly what I'm about to give you. And if you're thinking, but I don't need team, it would generally take 3 months to recruit someone, and you can simply build relationships even if you don't recruit for 6 months. Okay, so hopefully you just took that in. So now let's dive into what I do, and for that I'll refer to my little notes and my computer. Okay, so internally we have a couple of or two really great position descriptions, which are almost the same as our job ad. Okay, so I'll probably go to just on my computer right now. So I'm going to go to the job ad. For me, that's the really important one here. So we have two of them. One is for what we call an account manager, and one is for what we call a bookkeeper. Now, I am in Australia, so if you are in another country, it should be exactly the same, except when you're going global, you might recruit someone in the Northern Hemisphere, whereas I might recruit someone in the Southern Hemisphere. That said, I've got staff in Northern as well. So basically, the first place I want to start is with the job ad. So I'm looking at my job ad now. If I'm recruiting someone more locally, like Joe McMahon, then they're an account manager. If I'm recruiting someone, and look, we tend to recruit our bookkeepers so being based in Australia, we tend to go with the Philippines. Okay, there's a lot of reasons for that. The time zone's really easy. The culture's amazing. I will let you know that demand has outstripped supply in the Philippines. Okay, so that just means there's a much higher demand for really good bookkeepers and accountants than there is supply. So it can be tricky to get really great people. And we do find offering a work from home situation oftentimes entices the best of the best away from the BPOs. So BPO stands for business process outsource, so that where they have to drive to an office. Because in the Philippines, even if they live, say, as the crow flies, right? So in a straight line, if they live a half an hour drive away from somewhere, it's usually at least a 2-hour commute each way. So to go to an office is 4 hours a day. And you've got a lot of mums doing that. So they're losing time with the kids. They're not seeing the kids as much. They don't get to do all the things that they would like to get done. I mean, if you're a mum, imagine if someone said, right, you've now got to commute for 4 hours a day, okay, 5 days a week, 20 hours a week, you've got to commute. What would you do with that 20 hours if you didn't have to commute? So we find in terms of supply and demand that can work really, really well. So the first thing you need to do is be crystal clear about the job ad. Okay, so I'll just go through the moving parts of mine. We've got account manager. So basically we are on the lookout for our next superstar senior Australian based bookkeeper who will take on the role of account manager. Then we go through bullet point the job responsibilities. So that is the technical job responsibilities, but it will include things like supporting and training our clients in software. It'll include things like liaising with our VIPs accountants. Our VIPs are our clients. It'll include items like working with our bookkeepers based in the Philippines, etc. So that's going to be all the job responsibilities that you can think of. Just list them out there, bullet point. So the next thing is we go through professional attributes. So we've got 4 professional attributes we look for. That is well-spoken. Then we've got professionally presented. refined communication skills, diplomatic and empathetic. The next thing we go into is the kind of hours. So for us, the role for our local Australian is casual, and they need to be available a minimum of 22 hours per week or over 3 to 5 days. So why 22 hours, which works out to about 3 days a week, which they could do over 7 days a week. Doesn't bother us. We like flexible working environments. But once you go to less than that, and even if they start at 5 or 10 hours a week, okay, I've met team before that say, oh, I'm happy to start a few hours a week and work up. But yes, Jeannie, eventually you can book me up 22 hours a week. That's important because I definitely made that mistake early on. And when you've got team that are bits and bobs, you end up with tons of people to manage. You've got to pay for tech for everyone. Like you've got to have the Google Drive, email setup, all this kind of thing. So managing more people and the cost is higher. So you want to manage as few people as possible, keep the costs low, and managing costs money anyway. Okay, so that's why we have that in place. We let them know that their rate of pay is negotiable and it depends on experience. Okay, so we negotiate with every candidate individually. I will let you know that I do require the candidates to tell me their expectation. We might go into that again in a second on the part 2. So then we have a section called Who Can Apply. And that's selection criteria. Okay, so how does that differ to the other stuff? Well, we have things like, so it says the suitable candidate will fit the following selection criteria. So a minimum 2 years senior bookkeeping on a variety of small business bookkeeping accounts. We go into just basic qualifications, computer skills. We also want to know that they've got a driver's license and reliable car, a mobile phone. We require a national crime check, which in Australia, if you're a registered BAS agent, that kind of happens automatically, okay, as you get your BAS agent registration, but we don't need BAS agents, okay? So other than that, we require a national crime check or willingness to obtain one and references from their last 5 years of employment. Now, the next part is probably the section I really want to tell you about, and that is the application process, okay? And before I go any further, I'll let you know this entire process works incredibly well, and it did take a very long time to pull together and refine, like a decade. And I have tons of experience with recruitment, and as a certified trainer and assessor, that goes hand in hand with the recruitment as well, okay? So I'll read out our application process to you. So it says, it's important to us that you demonstrate your ability to follow instructions by completing the application process precisely. You will have the opportunity to add your resume and other documents in the questionnaire at this link. So that will take them to a Google form. As a busy business, interruptions aren't great, so please, no phone calls or emails, simply use the form. Only candidates successful in progressing to the interview stage will be contacted, and so we thank you in advance for your application. So that job ad has served us without hardly any changes forever. Okay. We always, when we're going to recruit, we might look at it. We might just check, is there anything else I want to put in there? Like, has anything in the tech landscape changed, et cetera, et cetera. Okay. And then we have a separate one for when we're recruiting a bookkeeper in the Philippines. We personally recruit without the help of a recruitment agency, although recently when our amazing Anna that works in my bookkeeping practice went on maternity leave in the Philippines, we actually did use a BPO to get a temp, okay, and that worked really well. So we're going to do what suits us when it suits us. When I say it worked out really well, the first temp didn't, but the second temp was great. But we recruit just ourselves and we manage them ourselves without a BPO. And Team Up, who we can refer you to, they find the candidate, but then they get that person working from home and they just help you with how you'll manage that person, and then you manage them yourself. Okay, a lot of bookkeepers believe that using a BPO makes things easier, and I don't think that it really really does. I think that the only thing it does is has them under the supervision of someone at a desk. And that's only good to make sure they don't lie to you and go and get a second job and all these kind of things. All right. And that can happen. Things can go wrong. But I don't know that any more goes wrong when you're recruiting in another country to what it does in your own country. Okay. If somebody's dishonest, they're dishonest. It's not about what country they live in. The Philippines has the most beautiful culture, and I find them to be honest, trustworthy, just wonderful people. But when you start recruiting and managing humans, as I said in another podcast, you can't control anyone but yourself. So expect to have things that need to be handled and dealt with. Okay. We have had a team member go and get a second job. In our eyes, that's gross misconduct. It contravenes our employment agreement. So we had to deal with that. It's only happened once in 15 years. Okay. It has happened to another bookkeeper I know, and it scared her off completely. And I just really encouraged her that this is just something has gone wrong. You've just got to accept that that's business and move on. Okay. I don't think that's a reason to rush and go and recruit a BPO, which are usually high fees and very onerous contracts that can cause a lot of dramas. And Meryl, in the podcast I did with her on recruiting winning teams, talks about just the most horrible experience with the BPO where there was lawyers involved and everything. Okay, so I'm not saying they're all terrible, but having done both, I find recruiting and managing them myself or using Team Up, who then position you to manage them yourself, are the best options. Now, the structure of the job ad when we are recruiting in the Philippines is the same. Okay, there's the same form as it is for everyone, but we just have a few different things in there. That's all. Okay, so that's all you need to know about that one. So then we go ahead and we put the job ad on the various platforms that are going to suit us. So, for example, it'll be different in every country, right? If we're recruiting someone locally here in Australia, there's a platform called Seek, which has worked quite well. That said, there's a lot of changes where people are moving to more LinkedIn. So, we like to put our job, you might put your job ad on your website under careers, and then you could have a link to it that you can put on social media, ask all your friends to share. Sometimes there's social media groups like on Facebook, which is Bookkeepers Looking for Employment. You can post it in forums. We find LinkedIn is excellent for posting job ads. Then there's a whole lot of other kind of free or low cost areas we can post it. We might use Seek. When we are recruiting in the Philippines, we will check in with our team on what platforms are good. And I'm not across what platforms we are currently using for that. However, we have always used a platform called Upwork. That's UPWORK, Upwork. I still use that for various things. I'm looking for someone to help me with my Airbnb on that right now. So if you've heard of Fiverr, it's a lot like Fiverr, but it's been around longer and I just use that platform, okay? So you just need to post your job ad on various platforms and then let the magic happen. And by let the magic happen, I mean allow people to see your job ad and start to fill in your form. If they don't fill in your form, then you know they can't follow an instruction. So they'll go through and they'll fill in your form. Now, I'm going to let you know. So, our recruitment form contains all the things you'd expect to ask, like name and email address and phone number, etc. Okay. There's a whole lot of other questions that we ask, just like you'd ask in an interview. So, like, where do you see yourself in 5 years? What are you proud of? What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? We go into the detail of, like, what days do you want to work? What hours do you want to work? Ask them to confirm they know that it's what kind of position is it? Ask them what rate of pay they're expecting to get paid, and all those kind of things. But the ones that I'd like to draw your attention to is we do psychometric testing. Okay, so we do the DISC assessment. Right here, I'm reading. So I get them in there. I do get them to upload their resume and optionally a cover letter. We give them instructions. Then we've got, please complete this DISC assessment and email the upload results to us. So, or you can just have them upload the results. So we get them to use a URL called discpersonalitytesting.com/free-disc-test. Okay. And that's a nice free DISC test. And all of my team internally do psychometric testing across DISC, starter, maintainer, finisher. And also, so we do that during the recruitment process. Those two are free. Okay. So with the starter, maintainer, finisher, basically that's something that I kind of learnt about. There's no test online for it, but we just developed a basic one internally where we just ask them, are you a starter, are you a finisher, or are you a maintainer? And we just frame up what does each one of those look like. Now, I go into this in my first book, The Strategic Bookkeeper, and I would say most bookkeepers don't do this. And yet I would say the psychometric testing, I would never recruit. I would leave my business. I would never recruit again if I couldn't do psychometric testing. For me, that's about getting to know the individual, being able to put a round peg in a round hole, giving that person what they need. Psychometric testing is human design, and I want to know how my humans are designed. Okay, so back to the football coach and the football field. So each person has a specific human design that I want to get to know so I can understand what their zone of genius is and how I can best support them. For example, with a DISC test. So if you haven't done your DISC, you need to do your own DISC. I'm a high ID. Okay, that means, so DISC is DISC. So that stands for dominant, influential, steady, and cautious. So the dominant is those direct communicators. All right. So I'm a very direct communicator. And if I have an S in front of me, I could easily offend that S because S's, when we say steady, they're soft supporters. Okay. They're soft, steady supporters. So a D and an S are kind of opposite. Right. So if I get someone come through, they look amazing, but they're a very high S, whereas I'm a high D, I actually talk to them about that. And I say, I'm not so good with the things that you are going to need to feel supported and to feel valued. So I'm going to work harder, and I'm going to ask you to understand that it's not my zone of genius, and to know that every day I appreciate you. And if there's no bad news, it's all good news. And I can tell you it's transformational. And there are times where we need to remind each other. Another example is where our amazing Anna resigned. It was sometime last year, and I was like, no, I love Anna so much, but I hadn't shown her the love. To be honest, Joe McMahon and I are both very direct communicators, and Anna wasn't feeling the love. She wasn't feeling valued because she's far more of a supporter, and we just hadn't managed as a team to meet each other in the middle as much as we could. Now, Anna came back to us a month later, and we were so excited, and we talked to her and said, we love you, we value you, we appreciate you, here's a bonus. And we just want you to know that we might not always tell you because it's not our zone of genius, and we're going to work harder at making sure you feel valued and appreciated. But if you could just remember to speak up and let us know when you need a little love, and know that we're always there for you professionally and personally. So it is so important and respectful to get to know your team. Okay, I could go on about this forever. Trust me now, believe me later, you need to get into psychometrics and into human design. Okay, and the ones that you need in your bookkeeping practice, I'm telling you right now. So you don't need to go and check out the Myers-Briggs or go down the road of 10 other psychometric tests. You need to learn enough about DISC, starting by doing your own DISC assessment. Okay. Now, bookkeepers tend to be CS on the whole. At work, I dial up my CD. So C is detail-orientated tech people. Okay, so programmers, bookkeepers, we're detail-orientated. So bookkeepers tend to be high C, and then they are either D or S. So D being direct people, and the S being that more supportive person, okay, like the mum figure. So And then bookkeepers don't tend to be high I, so I's are introverts, all right? And I love my bookkeepers to be C's. That's what we need is C's. So I don't want chatterboxes, which is your high I. That said, I'm not going to recruit solely on a psychometric, but if somebody's an ID, I'd probably be asking why they're a bookkeeper. And they might have an amazing backstory. I'm an ID. Yeah. So if you said, you know what, you don't have the classic bookkeeper profile, but inside my disk, it'd show you how I dial up that C. Okay. And I'm an IDC. S is the last one in my profile. So if you said to me, well, how did you end up a bookkeeper? I'd tell you my whole backstory about working for my family all my life and ending up in finance and operations. And then if you said to me, well, I was a chatterboxes, how do you rein that in at work? I would tell you. Okay. If you're a direct communicator, you'd ask me those questions, right? So trust me now, believe me later, you have to do that. Now, I am going to read you out the 3 questions that I created for the starter, maintainer, finisher. So, which of these best describes you at work? A starter, likes to get the ball rolling. You are a visionary. You see the world through the lens of, I need to keep going on that, of opportunity and how things can be changed for the better. You are passionate and driven by your ideas, and it goes on and on. Okay. A finisher likes to get stuff done. You love to plug into someone else's ideas and help bring them to life. You naturally see what it takes to accomplish a goal. And the maintainer likes to keep the engine running, and so on and so on. Okay. So I've got those questions in there for my candidates to answer. Now, bookkeepers tend to be maintainers. Okay. 80% of the bookkeepers who come through are going to be maintainers. If I get a starter, I need to talk to that person. Are you aware you're a starter? How do you go about maintaining and finishing? Okay. I'm a starter myself, right? So I tend to employ all maintainers, and 80% of candidates are maintainers. But if I get an ID starter, it's a little bit of a red flag, and it means we need to have a deeper conversation. Okay. If I get a classic bookkeeper profile, I'm like, this person came out of the womb with the bookkeeper profile. And I'm telling you, this stuff makes a big difference. Okay. So you go through, you fill all that stuff in, and that means, one other thing I'll let you know is we have, please tick what's relevant to your experience. We've got a table in there that you can use Google Forms to create, and you've got all the different softwares and things, like you've got payroll, touch typing, Word and Excel, Xero, Mile, QuickBooks, Intuit, Google Diary, Gmail, all the different skills, and then you tick beginner, intermediate, advanced. So there's room in there to get all that done. We ask about how they like technology. Please upload any specific qualifications like a software certification that you have, and they confirm a whole lot of things from the job ad to make sure they read them, right? So this is a pretty long questionnaire, and they're available start date. So what happens then that I love in Google Form, I'm going to give you a hot tip to go to the responses, link it to Sheets, and click the 3 dots and say, get Gmail notifications for new responses. Okay. And then do some things around the settings. Now, the great thing there is candidates are going to flow through little by little by little. And then every now and then when you're ready, you can have a look at the candidates that are coming through and maybe open a conversation. Okay. You can build relationships with candidates over time. And then if you decide I really like this person, then when you're ready, you could talk to them about when a position becomes available, I'd really like to recruit you. And you might totally vibe with someone and they say, well, I'm at a job at the moment, but the minute you press go, I'll resign. Okay. So this idea of always recruiting is a lot like marketing. Okay. So in marketing, you want to fill up a pipeline of people who are ready to buy from you. With recruitment, you can fill up a pipeline of candidates who are ready to come and work for you. Now, as we bring this episode to a close, and I'll do another episode as a companion to this one as well, I think, I just want to say that you're doing this, you're getting a lot of candidates, you can go back anytime to this list. You can keep, this is the candidates that are my finalists. You can put them in your filing system of your computer. You can go back. You can be talking to one of these candidates a year, 2 years later. You can email all candidates at some point to let them know another job is available. Please let us know if you're still available so we can review your application. You can ask them to apply all over again to the new job. But building this database of candidates locally and globally is just so amazing to be able to pull from later, okay? And then you're going to go on to the actual interview. Now, I'll let you know that personally, even though I'm really great at recruitment, I've identified that I can get a little emotional in the interview and just want to get excited and recruit everyone. So sometimes that's a good time if you've got a staff member to get them involved. So I prefer not to do any interviews myself. I would rather Joe McMahon do the interviews and select the candidate. These days, she does all of it herself. What I find is when I worked for someone else, anyone else, and I did this process, I was a lot colder and more analytical. But when it's my business and my baby, I'm so close to it and I get really emotional. It is what it is. When I worked for other people, I was much more of an A manager, plan, organize, staff, direct and control unapologetically. When I started my own bookkeeping practice, and for the first decade, I was a B manager. I was a people-pleasing, nice guy manager, and it was painful. And so I think it's really different when you run your own business to when you're working for someone else. So just that little hot tip. So it's been a long episode. I'll leave it there. Comments, questions, suggestions in the Facebook group or by email are always appreciated, and I'll see you in the next episode. Okay, my friend, now it is time to take action. So what are you going to do with what you learned today? The way I see it, you've got two options. You can go it alone to try and save some money, or you can back yourself and go for it and join my tribe. And let me tell you, we are knocking it out of the ballpark. That's not a sales pitch. That is me serving you, dare I say, courageously. To find success, I 100% know you need the mechanics, which is like the keys to the kingdom, but you also need to get your mindset right and be super productive. And these are all things I help you with inside the program. I could go on about this forever because I really want this for you. Have a prosperous week, and I'll see you in the next episode.